Former Israeli Special Forces operative Aaron Cohen is also a counterterrorism consultant, managing director at IMS Security, and the author of the book Brotherhood of Warriors Behind Enemy Lines, with a commando and one of the world's most elite counterterrorism units. Let's talk first of all about the incident at the fence today. Do you think Hamas was trying to provoke Israel and in fact succeeded?
Greg, I think that I do. I think that Hamas is habitually trying to provoke Israel, and I think that they are an expert in propaganda. And I think this is one of those mechanisms that they're using by allowing or by inciting their people, hundreds if not thousands of people, to come up to the border, knowing that Israel has a buffer zone, a very strict security policy with that zone because of missiles and suicide bombers. And if they can incite Israel to fire at a civilian and to show a Palestinian casualty, that has a very heavy effect visually in terms of media or on TV.
Aaron, let me switch to Egypt. This is an astonishing power grab, it seems, to a great many people. You heard the comments of Mohammed al-Baradei, calling Morsi now a pharaoh, the equivalent of, a king, a divine creator, a mutable power. What's your take on that? Where do you see that going?
Greg, I think it's a sad day for the Egyptians. What we saw was a pro-democracy, uprising that had successfully taken down a leader who, had essentially stolen billions and billions of dollars from his people. Now what we have here is the systematic transition of Egypt through the laws internally, which will ultimately force Egypt into a Sharia state, which is actually pretty sad. And what ends up happening is you end up becoming another Iran, another country that gets completely uprooted by Islamists, and then ends up turning into a state that ends up controlling its people and essentially imprisoning them. So, I think it's a sad day, and I think that the Egyptians have every right to be upset.
How dangerous would a strictly Islamic country with Sharia law be, especially if they decide we've got to have nuclear weapons too because Iran is trying to do so?
I think it's as dangerous as it gets, Greg, and I think the reason why specifically is because you have another piece in that Middle Eastern puzzle, which is being, again, completely systematically turned in from whatever democracy there was prior to the fall of Mubarak into an Islamic State. In turn, when you have those extremists who are controlling and pulling the strings of those puppets, and that's essentially what we have as a leader here who comes from the Muslim Brotherhood. He was a very strong leader with that organization. He was educated here at USC in the United States, back in Egypt. It's dangerous. It's dangerous for the pure, simple fact that you've got a country that could potentially be ruled purely by a religious system. And it's a problem, and it's something that needs to be looked at really closely.
Aaron Cohen, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg.